Welcome to the Love Leading Podcast with Dr. Shanon. I am your host for this episode today, and we are in a series. This is episode 3 in the Naked and Exposed. And so I am going to be sharing with you.
I found this on the web for his episode 3 in the Naked and Exposed.
From desire to obligation, shifting attitudes. So as I'm walking you through summaries of each one of my chapters of my book, we are on chapter number 2. So what I have found in the trend of couples is that naturally, as they are starting their relationship, it is really this deep desire, this willingness to show up for the partner. This is how most relationships start, right? They go to the altar. They are giving their vows. They're vowing unending love and commitment. And they give it in a willing attitude. Yes, there's a marriage license that they have to sign. I get that. That's, for legal purposes, a lot of the times, but the vow part is where they show up. And a lot of times they write their own vows, right? These are things that are coming from their heart. They want to, show up for, that they're committing to. This is the way they feel, that they can't imagine another time where they wouldn't want to show up in full force to try to bring their part to make their partner feel loved and desired and happy, right? And with everything in life, there is a slow erosion naturally, right? We move from, passion and romance and chemistry to companionship and building that third leg, commitment. And so it's hard to stay, in one place. Obviously, we're evolving and deepening mature love. And sometimes there's, chapters of life where we're kind of really just having to put the oxygen mask on other areas of career, family building, outside responsibilities. And so, of course, life takes its toll. And, but a lot of times couples stay in that kind of parallel lives where this division of labor doesn't necessarily always create the crossover opportunities of keeping the relationship fresh. Or maybe through a process of series of, misalignment in morals or ethics or priorities or convictions, or sometimes, family of origin, expectancies of what is in the relationship, and so that don't necessarily always have full agreement as they are getting into the nuances of trying to blend two, lives together. And there's disappointments, maybe outside circumstances that create, stressors unexpectedly, or, they push against the relationship and realize the bandwidth isn't necessarily on both sides. And so stress tolerance becomes challenging. Or maybe actual hurtful or betrayal events cause pain points in the relationship, and there are communication challenges that go unaddressed. There's a variety of kinds of things that can cool a relationship from that starting point. And so a lot of times couples will land in my office, and what they're saying to me is, can you be the referee? Can you hear both sides and validate who's right, who's wrong? Can you help us negotiate and compromise on, how basically how much do I actually have to show up? What is the appropriate amount of commitment here? What are the expectations that I have to meet? Where's the bar? Where's the radar? Tell me so I can try to at least meet that to as much as I can. And I'm just thinking, wow, this desire to duty, this desire to obligation, this willing vow to, contractual agreements sounds awful as to the way that you would want to spend the rest of your life with this most important person under one roof the majority of time that you have on this earth, right? And that's where a lot of couples find themselves, that the desire has diminished and now they're showing up out of sheer either duty or obligation. And they're looking for someone to help them contractually find some kind of agreement where they can cohabitate peacefully and try to manage each other's expectations. That doesn't sound really romantic. That kind of removes the passion, but that's where a lot of relationships land. And what we have found is that once positive narrative of what we tell ourselves about our partners becomes something over time very different. At the beginning, the narrative, and we all have relationships with ourselves. We all carry on conversations with ourselves about either ourselves or circumstances or the world or our spouses. And my guess is there's a really positive narrative going on at the time that you said, "Yes, I do," or else you wouldn't have said, "Yes, I do." It might have been, "Oh, they are the most beautiful person. I can't even imagine loving them any more, any less than I do right this very minute." Or, "They are so kind and compassionate," or, "They love me so well." I could go on and on and on, right? And this is what I do is I ask, these couples that land in my office, what was your starting point? Why were you attracted to one another? What caused you to fall in love with one another? And these were those positive narratives. And so when they land in my office in this place of, loss of desire to want to show up anymore, I begin to ask them, how has that narrative now changed? What do you, if you were absolutely honest and your conversation had to be replayed out loud that you have with yourself, the majority of time now about what you tell yourself about your partner, would you want that spoken out loud? And what do you think that is? Maybe it's from perfect partner expectations, they'll never not show up for me. And two, they're not showing up for me. They generally do not prioritize me. They aren't hearing me. They don't feel like my needs or wants are important to them, right? Or maybe it's this mind reader kind of thing from they can complete my sentences. They, know me so well to why do I have to tell them over and over and over again what I need and want? They should know this by now, right? And because they aren't, they must not know or love me. They must not, you know, care. And they should be able to read my mind. I shouldn't have to be the one that always reminds them because then they're just doing it anyway because they have to, not because they want to, right? And these become those narratives. And what we know in our field of research is that when those cognitive thoughts, when we appraise our relationship in a negative kind of way, that thoughts really influence our emotions. And so when our emotions shift to love, from love to maybe unloved, or from cared for to unprioritized, right? Then that shifts our motivation, our energy levels, our vibrations. Each emotion is correlated to a level of vibration or energy in our bodies, and then it shifts our want tos. It shifts our behavioral action tendencies in the relationship. And so when these actions or our motivations begin to wane of wanting and desiring to show up for our partner, then our action tendencies influence our spouses. And listen, this is a cycle. It's not linear where we can kind of trace it back to the first offender here. This all goes on exactly at the same time. Our behavior influences our spouses influences ours. And we find this slow drift away from desire or want to duty, obligation, and have to. And so, what I am going to challenge you when these shifting attitudes, when you really find that you are in this place of a shifting attitude towards your partner, before we even get into the brain science of romantic attachment, which is coming up next, by the way, begin to become aware of the narratives that you are beginning to develop and that you tell yourself about your partner, and challenge those thoughts. A lot of times people say, well, I can't make changes in the relationship because my partner is not on board to fight for the relationship too. Or maybe they say, I've been asking for counseling for a very, very long time and they're not there yet. Or I've been going to counseling and I'm working on my stuff, but you have to have two. And that is true to a degree. But there are things that you can begin doing on your own. If you're out there and you're hearing this message that you don't feel like couples counseling can start from just one person, I'm going to encourage you today that possibly you could start the ball rolling. Because if you begin to address your own conversations and be intentional about challenging the thoughts and bringing yourself back to a place where you're reminding yourself of the reasons why you fell in love with this person in the first place, where you are intentionally reframing your thoughts. And I'm not saying to believe a lie, because we can hold space at the same time of having disappointments and reminding ourselves of why this person was your chosen partner at the same time. And holding yourself accountable to spending more time washing your thoughts and your mental hygiene practices towards a positive frame of mind, so that you're shifting your emotions, you're shifting your vibration, you're shifting your want to back to beginning to show up in the relationship differently, and hoping that that can impact, influence, and change in the positive direction for your partner. So that's your challenge today. And if you find yourself in that obligation and duty place, Find your want to again. And I'm going to take you step by step by step on how you can do that. So don't miss the next episode in the Naked and Exposed, where we begin understanding what all this brain science is, how that impacts our conflict cycle, and why. Mapping out your conflict cycle so that you can move your relation from conflict to connection, how to become each other's healing partners, how to add every step of the renewal systems of the intimacy for life method in your marriage. So we've got a lot to cover in the next few weeks. So make sure that you subscribe to the Love Leading podcast so you won't miss any of these episodes. And so that's it for today, guys. Desire to obligation. Hopefully you don't find yourself stuck there. So go out, love leaders, and learn how to love well in your most important relationship. And we'll see you next time.